On today's episode, Eddie and Webby learn that what goes up doesn't always come down. This is the Eddie and Webby podcast.
No, I said extra anchovies, no olives. All right, thanks. Bye. Oh, hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and this is our 6th podcast.
Oh, yeah, episode number 6.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I absolutely love how successful these podcasts have been to be able to reach it, episode number 6.
I agree with you. Now we're at 6 on our way to 50.
Yes.
And I agree. We have been so successful with it that we actually now have all of our podcasts available through all the methods that you listen to podcasts. Stitcher,
What?
Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, etc. Episodes 1 through 5 are up already. And at the time that you're watching or listening to this, episode 6 will be there as well.
Wow. That feels like really official.
I agree. I feel like we're officially a podcast now. Now that we're at number 6, it's official. It is weird, though, because typically when we do our podcast, we're gearing it towards our YouTube audience. And I think we need to be mindful of our audio-only podcast listener audience as well.
Screw them. No, just kidding. We should definitely be mindful to all of our listeners and viewers.
That's right. Before we begin, this is one thing I always look forward to. I don't know if you guys know or not, but Webby never shares the Twitter comments with me before. So I'm hearing them the same time that you guys are hearing them. And I'm really excited for this week. I hope we got some good ones.
Yes, and we do actually have quite a few new comments on Twitter directed towards us. And let's see, we've got one here from Homer Samsonite. He says, the pickleball anthem has gotten me through some very tough times. There were times where I almost gave up on pickleball, but your music video kept me going. Thanks, Eddie and Webby. Nice.
That was really nice, yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool to hear. It's very cool to hear that it actually helps people get through some tough times. Very nice.
I agree. Always good to hear that.
You're not going to believe this one. This is actually quite the contrary. This is from Stanley Poobrick. The pickleball anthem has got to be the worst song ever made. I would gladly listen to the Backstreet Boys on repeat for the rest of my life if it meant I never had to hear the pickleball anthem again. Ouch.
Yeah, that's not what we like to hear, but at least we appreciate the feedback, Stanley.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the feedback. And when it comes to music, I mean, you're not gonna be able to please everybody. Some people don't like rap music. Some people love rap music. I mean, you can't please everybody.
Good point. Good point.
But I do appreciate the feedback still. So thank you, Stanley.
Yep.
Let's do one more. Here's one from DJ Kark. At Eddie and Webby, you have been saying you have new music videos in the works for a long time, but you haven't released any yet. Can you at least give us a clue as to what they will be about? That's a great question or suggestion, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? What can we tell them that won't give away too much?
It's going to be good. These things take time as well, right? You can't just whip these videos out very quickly.
Right.
They do take time.
We have the music recorded. The music is all done. It's all, we just got to do the video portion of it. Let's just say it is pickleball related. How about that?
I think that's good. I think that's a good enough hint for this time.
Yeah, I think that'll do for now. But thank you very much for the comments on Twitter, everybody.
Yeah, keep them coming, guys. We really appreciate them.
For show. Faux show.
For show. So, you guys know what we do on this podcast. We talk beer, we talk tech, and we talk pickleball. And
that we do.
Yeah, this is the time that we talk about beer. And I'm really excited about this one. Webby, would you like to share with our audience the beer we will be tasting today?
Why, yes, I would. I just so happen to have a beer with me at this moment, and this beer is called Hofbrau Dunkel from Hofbrauhaus.
Yeah.
I have had this before, but it's been at least 2, maybe even 3 years. And I don't know about you, my taste in beer has changed drastically in the last few years. So I'm very curious to see what I think of this beer years after the last time I had one.
Yeah, I do remember the first time you tried it. You thoroughly enjoyed it. I can tell you, I remember the first time I ever tried this beer. It was actually when I was taking an online course to prepare for my BJCP beer judge exam.
Oh, nice.
We actually had to go and buy like 20 different styles of beer. And then as a group online, we all tasted them together and talked about it. And I remember the second that this one touched my lips, the second it hit my lips, I instantly fell in love with it. It's always been a good standby for me. You have to be in the mood for a good German lager, but when I am, this beer just does it for me. It's a good one.
Yeah, and it's gotta have a good lasting impression if you recall the time that it first touched the lips.
I agree.
If you can recall the lip touch, that's usually a good sign.
I agree with that for sure. Before we pour, let's talk a little bit about the brewery and the beer. Hofbrauhaus was founded in 1589 in Munich, Germany, and it is one of Munich's oldest beer halls. There's a ton of history that I don't want to go into at this brewery, but if you're in the mood for a good read about German history and beer, I would recommend you look them up. They have locations across the world. I personally had an opportunity to go to the one in Las Vegas about 4 years ago, and I thought it was great. They had great food and obviously some of their great German lager beers as well. A couple other beers to note from Hofbrauhaus, which I'm sure that most beer lovers out there will recognize. We have the original, Hofbrau Original, which is a Helles lager. We have Hofbrau Hefeweizen, which is obviously a Hefeweizen or a wheat beer. And then we have Hofbrau Oktoberfest, which is their Märzen or Oktoberfest style beer. If you go to Oktoberfest, the Hofbrauhaus, I know, is heavily involved in that as well, and you can get their beers pretty much everywhere around there. Pretty cool stuff, huh?
Yeah, great information. I love hearing that kind of information. And actually, I'm kind of excited. I'm going to debut my brand new bottle opener that I just got.
What?
While in Orlando. I was in Orlando last week, went to the Ron John Surf Shop and picked up this beautiful Shark bottle opener.
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Little Ron John Surf Shop in Cocoa Beach, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and let's pop these bottles and start pouring.
Let's do it.
Webby, are you familiar
Yes.
with the German purity law?
I am not. Not one bit.
So it was a law that was put into place in the 1500s that basically set the standard for purity in beer. And back then, they only knew of 3 ingredients that went into beer, and that was hops, barley, and water. And at that time, those were the only 3 ingredients that you could actually use in a German beer that met the purity law. Later, obviously, when they discovered that fermentation took place through yeast, that was added, and you were able to use yeast in beer as well. Interesting fun fact.
Very interesting and fun and factual.
That's right. Here is the description put out by the Hofbrauhaus website. Dark beer existed in Bavaria long before light beer. This was the first type of beer to be brewed at Hofbrauhaus when it was founded. Today, when beer lovers all over the world talk about dark beer, they usually mean a Munich-style dark beer. Today, Hofbrau Dunkel is still as popular as ever, with an alcohol content of around 5.5% by volume and a subtle, spicy, and rich flavor. This is a refreshing beer that suits all kinds of occasions. A beer in the traditional Munich style. Oh, it's a nice description.
It is.
This qualifies for BJCP category 8A, which falls under the dark European lager category, and the style is Munich Dunkel. As mentioned, it's 5.5% ABV, which is at the tippity top of the scale for a Munich Dunkel style.
I was going to say it looked like a Munich Dunkel. I was totally going to say it was very Munich Dunkely looking.
Very Munich Dunkely. So let's kick it off. We always start with the appearance. As you can see here, it's pretty dark. It's not stout dark. It's more caramely, kind of some caramel red hues to it. But it's definitely a dark, very clear beer.
Yeah, definitely dark yet clear at the same time. Actually, a lot more clear than I expected it to be.
Yeah, with a lot of the German lagers, they're going to be very clear because to lager means to age. And so these age at a cool temperature for a long time, which means they're going to come out very clear.
I do see some bubbles floating to the top, so I would say it's got some moderate carbonation, I think people might say.
Yeah. Let's jump into the aroma. Give it a little sniffy snifferson here. I love this aroma. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, that is really nice. I like that smell a lot.
Yeah, it's such a soft, smooth, complex aroma. Toasty, right? I feel like toasted bread. Like toasted bread with honey is always what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Or smell that, I should say.
Yep. Yeah, definitely got a sweet hint of chocolate, maybe more caramel to it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do feel like I get a hint of chocolate in there.
Yeah. I love the aroma of this beer. It's always
that smells very nice.
Yeah, very, very pleasant aroma. And what do you say we taste it?
Ooh, yeah. I like the tasting portion of this segment. My favorite part, actually.
Let's do it. Definitely gargle worthy. Man, I love this. I absolutely love the flavor of this beer. I forgot how much I loved it because I've been drinking hoppy beers a lot lately and I've stayed away from a lot of the malty lagers. I forgot how much I loved this beer.
I am definitely enjoying this, that's for sure.
I'm getting a lot of like bread crust, malty sweetness. There's a little roasty, but I'm also getting caramel. It's just such a complex flavor profile.
Very enjoyable.
You know, it's weird. Since I have been drinking hoppy beers lately, I find that it's very noticeable when I drink a beer that has very little to no hops. And I'm not getting any hop flavor at all in this beer.
No, none whatsoever.
That finish is so smooth, too. Very nice. Anything else you want to add about the flavor?
No, just that it is definitely very tasty, but I can taste the roastiness of it. I do have one more thing to say right now before we move on.
I like it. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You already touched on the mouthfeel a little bit. Definitely has medium to medium high carbonation, which is good. Very pleasant, not overly carbonated. It's just a very smooth drinking beer.
I do have to say, I think I would need to be in the right mood to want this style of beer, because lately IPAs and stouts have been my favorite go-to styles. And if I was craving those, I don't think I would be super satisfied with this. This would be a great one if I'm just in the mood for a nice drink. Don't really care what style I have. I would definitely go to this one.
Yeah, I mean, this has been always one of my standbys for German beers. If we ever go to a German restaurant or a German bar, like we do in Detroit sometimes, this is one that I definitely get if they have it on tap or in the bottle. But it's always had a nice place in my heart, and I appreciate that.
Yes, I definitely am enjoying it.
Last time, I decided whether or not we were going to chug. So this time, it's your turn.
Oh, man. We have never chugged a dark beer before, but I feel like this isn't too thick to where it would destroy our stomachs. I'm leaning towards Team Chug.
I'm with you, too. I think this is probably going to be a very easy to chug beer.
Well, shall we do it?
Do your thing.
Ziggy zuggy, ziggy zuggy, oi, oi, oi. 3, 2, 1, chug. Very easy to chug.
Yeah. Man,
Ooh, that was not a good burp, though.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the easier beers to chug, and we finished almost the exact same time, which is interesting.
Yeah, that was a very smooth, very tasty chug.
Yeah, very nice. As always, if there's any beers that you guys want us to do a review of, throw it in the comments below. And if we can get it at our locations, we will do our best to get that beer reviewed for you guys.
So we always talk about putting the comments down below. Is there a comment section for audio podcasts? Because I'm kind of new to the audio podcast world.
Why don't you do this? If you're listening from an audio podcast, send an email to contact@eddieandwebby.com with your beer recommendation, and that's a good way to get a hold of us. Or we're also on social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram, @EddieandWebby. Throw it in there. We're happy to use that as our guide for which beers to review.
Nice. Or go to the YouTube channel and just toss the comment in the YouTube comments.
Yep. Or send us a letter, or send us a fax.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Don't send us a fax. I don't even know.
What about Telegram? Do we accept telegrams?
We do accept Telegram. Yep.
Yep. Go ahead and send us a telegram to. Is that how telegrams work? I don't even know how do telegrams work.
I'm not even sure. I've never sent a telegram. I've never received a telegram. I've never even seen it happen except for in old movies. So I'm not really sure.
But if you can figure out how to send telegrams, feel free to send us one and then tell us how to get it.
Yep. Enough about communication methods. Why don't we move on to the tech section of the podcast? And we actually have a really good discussion that we're going to have today. Webby and I are on different sides of the fence when it comes to this. And I think we're going to have a pretty good discussion about it.
And today what we are going to discuss is DSLR versus camcorders when doing video.
Webby is a camcorder guy. I am a DSLR/mirrorless guy. I think we both bring up some good points that we're going to talk about today. So, Webby, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, definitely. So I did video production for over 10 years. I did that for a living, and we primarily used camcorders. I did purchase a DSLR and have done video projects with DSLR also, and I definitely favor the camcorder side of things. To me, when doing video, it's just easier. You can do the settings a lot easier on the go, on the fly when doing video projects, especially live video projects. I do like the end product of video shot with DSLR. DSLR video footage looks amazing if done right. But if given the choice, I would absolutely side with the camcorder side of things. Cool. What about you?
Yeah, so for me, I don't have much experience with camcorders. Most of my experience is from DSLRs and mirrorless. I'm just going to combine those for the sake of this conversation and just lump both of them together into the DSLR category.
Okay.
To me, there are pros and cons of it, right? So some of the pros,
for sure,
interchangeable lenses, right? So you can match your lens to whatever type of shot you're trying to get. Medium, wide angle lenses. One of my favorite lenses that I love for good B-roll is my Nifty 50 or my 50 millimeter 1.8. That thing is super sharp and gets me some great bokeh when I'm looking for that effect. And that's something that I love the ability to be able to do. The other advantage is it's great for photography. So if you're trying to do both video and photography, you can use the same device for both of those. Because they're so great for photography, they typically have larger sensors. And larger sensors mean more pixels, which can give you a better look and feel to your video as well. And then the cost. So a camcorder with all of the same functions that I have in my Sony a7 III that I'm filming from right here is going to cost almost double what I have into this camera here. So those are some of the pros. With pros, though, there are cons, right? And some of the cons of filming with the DSLR, limited recording time. Both of my DSLRs that I use, my Canon T7i and my Sony a7 III, are limited to 29 minutes, 59 seconds. So just shy of 30 minutes. That's not the greatest when you're trying to do longer films. Like when we record this podcast, for example, I typically have to stop before the end and stop filming and start filming again from both cameras, which is kind of a pain.
Yep, and I use a camcorder, and it just keeps going. Don't have to stop it. It will separate into different video files if it reaches a certain size, but it will not stop recording. So I do really like that fact.
Yep, definitely. I know that I said the cost was a pro, but the cost can also be a con as well. So you can get a really nice camcorder for under $1,000 right now. That's going to give you 75% of the functionality that a lot of these DSLRs are going to give you. So although if you want all the features of a DSLR and a camcorder, it's going to cost you more, for about half the cost of a good DSLR, you can get a camcorder that's going to get you about 75% of the way there and really give you some great video quality.
For sure. And DSLRs definitely can give you a better can give better video quality. They can give you more of a cinematic look than some camcorders can. And for me, I like DSLR if I'm doing a short video, a scripted video, something that I want to look a little more artistic or a little more cinematic. But if I'm shooting footage more like documentary style or vlogging, things like that, I absolutely would prefer to go with a camcorder, because when shooting things live and on the fly and not totally planned out and scripted, a camcorder to me is a lot easier to use. And a lot of the camcorders that are out now have really good video quality. So it might not be quite as nice looking as a DSLR, but it's the ease of use makes it much better if you're trying to do live action type stuff or events.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that touches on the last two cons that I have from a DSLR, and that is stabilization and built-in audio. Typically, a camcorder is going to have better stabilization in it. I know the camcorder that you use, Webby, the stabilization is unbelievable with that thing.
Yes.
And then built-in audio as well. Now, I do typically, anytime I'm doing run and gun style filming, I always use my Rode Video Mic Pro. So audio is not that big of a deal, but let's say there was good internal microphones on a lot of these DSLR cameras, you wouldn't need to do that. And I feel like you have that from a camcorder perspective. You get stereo audio. Some camcorders have actual surround sound audio recording capabilities built right into the camera itself. So that's another con of the DSLR and Pro for going with a camcorder, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I was saying before, it all depends on what kind of video project you're working on. But like I said before, if I had to choose one format to stick with, I would probably go with camcorder.
Awesome. Well, great discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have a preference between DSLR or camcorder, throw it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinion, and maybe there are some factors that we didn't even talk about today that we'd like to consider. So go ahead and throw it in the comments.
And where are those comments? They are down below.
Down there.
Yeah, that was definitely a good conversation, but I do feel it is time to get to the next segment, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is the wonderful world of pickleball.
Oh, yeah. I love talking pickleball as well. It is my favorite sport to play right now, and I like talking about it.
So what should we talk about in regards to pickleball today?
You know what, Webby? I am looking for a little bit of advice, and I feel like you're the guy to go to. I play with pretty much the same people 3 days a week in my community. There's about 20 people or so that rotate in and out of the nights that we play, and I play with them all the time, where you are in a little bit different of a spot because you play at different locations and with different people all the time. And so what I'm hoping is you can help me with an issue that I'm having with some of the regulars that I'm playing with.
Okay. What do you got?
In this pickleball world, you have dinkers and you have bangers. If you guys don't know what that is, dinkers are good and bangers are bad. I'm just going to leave it there.
But if there's any bangers listening, we still like you.
Yeah, we just hate you, but we still like you.
Right. We hate you.
Yeah.
But we appreciate that you're here watching right now.
Yep. I personally like to dink. I think dinking is what pickleball is all about.
Oh, for sure.
Some people I play with, they hate dinking. They hate it. And anytime we get into a dink off, they just slam it back at me. And I know that that's leaving them vulnerable. But what I'm looking for your advice on is, how do I use that against them to score a point when they bang the dink at me?
Yeah, so first off, I'm in the same boat as you. I am a dinker. I definitely prefer dinking. Makes the game more fun, less chance of injury also. But What I've found is a lot of the bangers, they'll hit it out of bounds a lot. If you can hit it just right, it's very easy to set it up to where they'll hit it out of bounds. You just got to learn how to hit it just right. So if you learn like where their weak spot is, like what the weak zone is, to where you know they're going to slam it, if you can hit it in a way to where it's hard for them to like slam down, they're going to hit it. They're going to try to hit it at you. So if you can get out of the way, they're going to hit it out of bounds almost every time if you can learn the best way to hit it towards them. So just do a nice dink over the net. But if you can find the sweet spot, they're going to slam the hell out of it and hit that ball out of bounds.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do notice that some of the bangers like to just crush it right at your face or in the chest. So you're saying that when they do that, it's likely that ball is going to be traveling so fast at an upper trajectory to where it's actually going to go out of bounds.
Yep. But you got to learn. It all depends on who you're playing with, because everybody, the bangers, they each have their own way of banging it back at you, and there's a few people that they make it very obvious on where you can hit it to where they're going to bang it out of bounds. So if you can pay attention and learn the way that they're hitting it, it's a lot of times very easy to set them up to hit it out of bounds.
Okay. So it's almost like giving them the opportunity to be able to screw up.
Yep, exactly. And you also got to be quick. Like they're going to, like you said, they're going to try slamming it right at you. If you can dodge out of the way. Now it can be risky, because if they don't hit it out of bounds, then you just totally like missed a chance to hit the ball back. So you really got to pay attention to who you're playing with, the way they hit it, and figure out the best way to set them up to where they're going to hit it out of bounds. And then eventually maybe they'll get sick of hitting out of bounds and not slam it quite as much in the game. But yeah, I agree. The bangers can be, it's not nearly as fun when you play against somebody that slams the ball like crazy. And in fact, I just played earlier this week, and a couple guys got into a fight because one of the guys just kept smashing the ball, and the other guy did not appreciate that at all. Especially there were a couple older people playing, probably well over 60, maybe even in their 70s, and the guy didn't care. He just kept slamming it at them.
Thanks for the advice, Webby. I appreciate it. I know we didn't plan on talking about this, but how has the meetups been going that you set up to be able to get people to play pickleball?
It has actually gone very, very well. So the very first meetup, the last podcast I talked about setting up the meetup, we hadn't actually played yet, but now we played that first meetup, and there were at least 25 people that showed up. The most I had ever seen at this court was 8 people at one time, and we had over 25 people. And it was pretty overwhelming, pretty awesome, and it was a great day. Last week, hardly anybody showed up. I was in Florida, so I couldn't be there, but I was checking in on the meetup group, and actually, I think still 6 or 7 people still showed up.
Wow.
The weather was not very good, so I think that kept a lot of people away. But even that 6 or 7 that showed up as a result of the meetup was pretty awesome, because I've been there sometimes where there's only 2 or 3 of us. So it's pretty awesome. I love the fact that it's actually working. So we're going to get a nice group every Wednesday.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that it worked out for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys very much for watching. This is episode 6, podcast number 6. So we expect there to be 6 of you still watching at this point, right? Thank you.
Oh, for sure.
To all 6 of you. As always, we love to hear feedback, good or bad. We want to hear it. Throw it in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, both at Eddie and Webby. And I think that's it for a show. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it was a good show. Talked about a lot of good things.
Well, on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.